Okay. Hey, Ben Miller, please.
This is he.
Hey, Ben. My name's Miranda Martin. I was following up with you about your mortgage for 250,000 with Wells Fargo Bank, and I'm getting back to you about that postcard you received in the mail regarding your mortgage. You or your spouse called the number and followed the phone prompts to answer a few questions so that we could contact you back regarding your mortgage protection options. And I was in the middle of getting your options worked up this morning, and I realized I needed maybe 10 seconds of questions to get this taken care of for you. So let me just verify some of that information you provided, and I can finish working up those options for you. You have indicated that your date of birth is just January 1st, 1978. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, cool.
So, real quick, we'll just tap on a few things here, and then we'll get right into the date and time progression. Number one, guys, that is the only change we have to the call and leave. So if you try to simplify it, this is what she just did, right? She identified who she was, why she was calling. She reminded them of what they did, and then she goes right into verification. That's all we're doing. And so that reminding part, this is the thing that I think is probably extremely important with this lead source, is you really do have to remind them of what they did. Because what's going to happen is they're going to think back to their day. I mean, think about you. How many activities are going on in your day at any given time? You know, it could be either picking up the kids or getting lunch ready or doing this, making phone calls, dropping off policies. So there's about a million things that take place. So when we're calling these leads back, it might be a couple days later. Well, gosh, I mean, of course it makes sense that they might not remember right away. So we're giving them a chance to remember. We're almost bringing back that emotion, right? We're bringing back that process. And then once it clicks in their head, then they're going to be able to be okay with us moving forward with the script. Or that's when you're going to start to get some rebuttals.
Yeah, and just as important as we talked about when we did the training on the corporate Wednesday call, there's no time to give them a room to back out of this. I'm not really going to give them a chance to say much until I'm the one that's asking questions. In the entire process, the entire marketing and sales process, the guy who's in control wins. And the guy that's in control is the guy that's asking questions. So we don't want to go up at the end of our sentence to make it sound like we're asking a question, and we definitely don't want to do pauses or say, is that okay with you guys? If you don't mind, we don't want to be like any of that's going to take away our confidence. And in some aspect, you almost want to put your time and you almost on a pedestal to make sure that they're taking you seriously as a professional.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably one of the major things people have a hard time with is they come across like a customer service representative instead of maybe like a doctor's office verifying appointment.
Yep.
You know, I don't know about you, Miranda, but when my doctor's office calls, they don't really sound like, I mean, I'm not saying they're not friendly because they are, but I also can very, very much tell what they're talking to me about is important. And it's not like they're trying to sell me on something. They're just trying to verify information. And I think that that's the posture we have to have when we go into these calls. See, a lot of times in our old business, our sales and our marketing was separate. So we actually had we had appointment setters just scheduling appointments but not doing the sales. We had our sales guys doing the sales only, not scheduling the appointments. And so what happened when we got the sales guys starting to make the appointments is they took a sales approach to the marketing phone call. In other words, they're trying to pre-sell the sale before they get there. And so in this case, you might be over friendly, and that sounds very salesy, you know, or you're basically trying to appease them, right? By asking, is it okay if do you have a quick 15 minutes? Like you're trying to be super, super nice. And the reality is we don't have time to be nice. We have to get through this because they need to be protected. We have to have a sense of urgency here. And when Miranda delivered her script there, those highlights that you see there, that's where we need to pause, because if you do that and you pause at those spots, you're going to find that the number of questions, the number of NIs, the number of rebuttals that you get are going to be diminished by half, if not more. I mean, Miranda, how often do you really get people interrupting you during the intro now?
Unless they're very loud and very firm, they can't because I don't give them a chance. Really? So unless like, hey, like they do that, then that's about it. And that doesn't, not most people don't do that when they don't even know what you're talking about.
So maybe we can set a goal for everybody who's listening to the call. Maybe today, if there's anything else, if there's nothing else that you take from this call, let it be to be an expert at that intro side, to where you're presenting it, where you're not pausing at the wrong spots. And then I want you to see exactly what happens to the number of rebuttals that you get during that intro. I mean, prove us wrong or prove us right, but what's going to happen is we know you're going to double your appointments because you're going to get further into the script. The more information people know, the more likely they're going to be interested. So if they say to us that they're not interested in the very beginning here, what do they know? They don't know anything. They're saying that they're not interested, but they don't even know what we're talking about yet. So our first objective is to get them to listen to us. And this technique of where to pause and the way that you're saying your script is going to help them get a little bit further into the script. So do you want to cover some of the rebuttals, Mer, that come in there, and then we'll get into the date and time progressions?
Yeah, like guys, the only difference for rebuttals, I use all the same ones that I use already for my normal calls, but the only real difference was if they said they didn't remember doing it, now I just want to hold their hand and walk them down the path of how I ended up on the phone with them. And then go right back to script. Like they called in, they put their information in the computer system. Now I'm calling you and let's get back to the questions again. So, and again, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it and the confidence that you go there with. And I actually do that. I kind of laugh sometimes with them. I don't know if it's not at them, but I go, guys, it was either you or your spouse, and I kind of make it like the ultimate sign of confidence is to be able to smile while you're dealing with something that could be stressful. You know?
Can we,
Is
can
that
we role play? Can we role play that first intro, Mer, and then I'm gonna just tell you that we're not interested, and then you go and kind of remind me again, and then don't say anything. Don't do what we normally do. Just pause like most people do.
so you want
You
me
know
to
what
do
I
it?
mean?
You want me to
Do it
just
wrong.
okay. You want me to do the intro inconfident as well, or what do
No,
you
do all that really good, but then when I jump in and say not interested and you try to remind me, I
hmm.
want you to give the rebuttal that you're talking about, but instead of moving forward in the script like we're supposed to, we basically pause to wait for acceptance. I want them to hear how that sounds because a lot of them are probably doing that.
Okay. Hey Ben, Miranda Martin here. I was following up with you about your mortgage for 250,000 with Wells Fargo Bank, and I'm getting back to you about a postcard that you received in the mail regarding your mortgage. You or your spouse, they called into the number, followed the phone prompts to answer a few questions so that we could contact you back regarding your mortgage protection options. And I was in the middle of getting those options worked up for you this morning, and I realized I needed about, I don't know, 10 seconds of questions to get this taken care of for you. So let me verify some information you provided so I can working
You
up
know,
the.
this is I don't really know what you're talking about. I never made a phone call to you guys.
Oh, it was, hmm, okay, because yeah, I got this form here, and yeah, I think you guys did for sure because else I wouldn't have had this here. So, um, are you sure you didn't
So
do
you
it?
see,
I did it,
yeah, there
maybe.
we go. So what happens here is now we're trying to defend a position. So look at the strategy. When the client, or not the client, say the telemarketer, quote unquote, let's just group us with everybody else for a minute. When a telemarketer starts to defend their position, what happens to you? You start to defend your position even more. So what we're recommending is instead of trying to defend a position, saying no, 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 are you sure? Or I'm sure it was you, or whatever it might be. That's chasing down a rabbit hole. Instead, let's kind of jog their memory a little bit. So that's the script Miranda's talking about. And when you jog their memory a little bit, you're going to find that you're going to get a lot of people opening up a little bit more. And in most cases, they're going to remember doing it. So that's good. You want to do it one more timer, and then let's do it the right way?
Sure.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start by me with the rebuttal. So Mer, I don't remember Miranda, I don't know what you're talking about. I never made a phone call to you guys.
Okay, well, it was either you or your spouse who received that postcard in the mail about your mortgage. And it was either you or your spouse. There was a number on there. You called in, answered the prompts to request pricing options to protect your home in case, God forbid, something happened to one of you guys. I was the caseworker, Ben, that was assigned to get this taken care of for you. And really, I just I have about 10 seconds of questions here. You indicated when you called in that your birthday is January 1st of 1978. Is that correct?
It is correct. Now let's pause for a minute. So now what's going to happen is, for most people, they're going to allow Miranda to continue. We're going to answer the question. Yes, that's correct. That's what I left. Or here's the scenario two, and this is the change I want you guys to make. If they are still resistant here, if they still say to you, this, I kind of talked about this just a little bit earlier. If they still are adamant that they didn't call, then this is where you need to start to divert. And when you divert, you just say very simply with confidence, okay, no worries, Mrs. Smith. If it wasn't you, then it definitely was Mr. Smith. If you could do me a favor, let him know that we're giving him a call back. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and touch base with him a little bit later. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day. And now I'm not giving her a chance or him a chance to say no. I'm saving the NI because it's clear as day that they're a little bit resistant at this point, and I don't want to push it. Otherwise, I'm going to get the NI. Now I'm going to kind of basically break, get the message to her or him, whoever I'm talking to, saying that I'm calling back. And I'm telling you, in our old business, when we did that, the message always got to the spouse. And when I called back the next time, I got a bit further in the script. So use that as a tool, and I'm sure it's going to help you.
There was a question. I know it says here, I know the caller captures the caller ID. And what happens if you call the caller ID number, which you know is for their real number, and they still say they didn't do it? I always, before I'm gonna put someone in the NI like in the garbage can, okay, the NI pile. I'm gonna make sure that they're okay because I feel like when I get a lead, my job is to make sure that this family's in a better spot than when I found them. So I'm going to just call them out and say, well, listen, I appreciate that you don't remember doing this, but let me ask you a question. If God forbid something happened to you, let's say tomorrow, is your family going to be okay as far as the mortgage and the home and everything's concerned?
And that's a bold question. And that's where you take the extraordinary, or the difference between the extraordinary and the ordinary. The ordinary person is just going to accept it for face value, NI it, and throw it away. What you're doing is you're going a step further, and you're being genuine with them. So now I want everybody to think about when you're in a presentation. When you're in a presentation and you're genuine with someone, what typically happens? Is it usually a positive outcome or a negative outcome? I mean, in most cases, if I'm genuine and they see that I care, usually they're going to start to be more genuine with me and kind of let down the guard. The same is going to hold true on the phone. Problem is we're not face to face, so it's a little bit more challenging, right? So what she did is she took a bold statement. She still didn't back down. She didn't say, well, I'm not sure exactly how this happened or how I got the information, but so now you're just reinsuring that they never requested it, which is not true. They did. What she's saying is, I can totally appreciate the fact that you don't remember doing this, but I got to ask you a question. If something happened to you today or something happened to your spouse today and that income stops coming in, are you guys going to be okay? Is your home going to be okay? Are you going to be able to stay in that home? And it's funny because once you ask something like that, things get real. And the people quickly identify themselves as, yeah, that kind of is the problem. Is that what this is about? Or they'll say, yeah, we're totally good. And then Miranda has done everything that she can. She goes on to the next one. But at least she's pushing. She's pushing another time just to make sure that these families are left in a good condition or a good position.
There's one more question. What do someone say when they ask what company that you're with? You definitely don't want to tell them that you're calling from their mortgage company, and sometimes that we can say that by accident, and we don't want to do that. I go back to telling them, just painting the picture of how I got on the phone with them and saying, you know what, a while ago the bank would actually do the mortgage protection directly when you did your loan, but now they have a license. Now what happens is a licensed agent takes care of that for clients, and the people that are interested actually respond back after they buy a home or refinance, and those that are interested get connected with a person like me. The company's Symmetry Financial, but I actually work, as a broker with like 30 different carriers. So my job's to find you the best thing at the best price and make sure that you're in a good spot. So something along
And
the, yeah.
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Murph.
I'm done. Yep.
So do you notice how that to me, that didn't sound scripted. That was genuine. That's what we are, right? When somebody says, well, what company are you with? I do something very similar. And then at the end of what my statement is, I'm not pausing. This is where I'm telling you guys, if you just get this one point, it's going to make a huge difference. When I make my statement or when I answer their question, right now they're in control because they asked the question. So now I'm responding to them. But in a traditional conversation, after I get done responding, what most people will do is pause so the other person gets a chance to talk. But this is not that. We have to take back control. So instead of pausing at the end of that sentence that you're going to state, now we just move forward, which is what Miranda was going to do before I interrupted her. Now we just keep moving forward through the script. If you can push forward further and further into the script, what's going to happen is they're going to learn more information about why we're calling and become more and more interested, which is going to increase your likelihood to book an appointment.
It goes back to what we said before, Ben. Say it strong, even if you're wrong. I was role playing with some agents, new agents, the other day, and one of them said this completely wrong rebuttal, but he said it strong, and he went right back to script, and I just laughed, and everyone on the call was like, "That was a wrong rebuttal." I'm like, you know what? He would have won. What you're right, it was the wrong rebuttal, but he said it so confidently, and how he went right back to script, I bet you that would have been fine. So you're so right when you're so pausing. That's it. Like I said, the confidence is what's going to get people to want to do business with you, right?
So,
and obviously saying that helps.
Sorry, Mer.
No, it's fine.
So to kind of wrap up the intro, if you're taking notes, I want you to write down these 3 common things that will happen if it happens. If you give them a chance to talk, this is typically what they're going to say. They're going to tell you either, can you call me back because I don't have time? They're going to tell you that they're not interested, or they're going to tell you that they don't remember sending in the information or calling the information, which quite frankly is the exact same things that typically happen on a mortgage protection direct mail lead. I mean, there's no real difference in that. So we're taking the same approach to that. And so what I'm going to recommend everybody to do is make sure you speak to your mentor and ask them how they recommend you answering those rebuttals. I mean, we have the way that we do it, but we want you to make sure you communicate with your mentor about the rebuttals that you guys are using. So with that said, Murdy, do you want to add anything else there, or go right into the date and time progression?
Yeah, I think, guys, as long as you can see, I'm sure you can all see my screen, just and then we'll wrap up the intro. Make sure that you're adding a few words into the next sentence and not pausing at periods. So I even kind of wrote it on the script. I moved it around. You indicated that when you called in that your birthday is, and that's where you do the pause. Like, just get good at not pausing at the end of sentences and not pausing at the end of rebuttals, and it's going to just change everything. So if you guys see how I wrote it on here, some of it is very run-on sentences. I did this so it'll be easier for people to read it the way that's going to be most effective on the phone. Okay.
I'm glad you said that. It's like it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. like I know that sounds strange, but it does. It's run-on sentences. The best run-oner is the one that's going to book the most appointments.
But the cool thing is, if you pause in the middle of sentences, you don't have to talk fast. You can actually talk 3 times slower because you have control. And then you can have things pop up like, hey, Ben, you or your spouse called in that number, then followed the phone prompts to answer a few questions. So we could contact you back about your mortgage protection options. And I was in the middle of getting those options worked up this morning and realized I needed maybe, 10 seconds of questions to get that taken care of for you. So I can play around with action now because I'm totally in control of all this, right?
Hey, and you just totally highlighted a golden nugget that if they didn't catch can make a big difference. The golden nugget is like everybody talks about pace. The pace is going to help you become more of a non-salesperson on the phone, right? The sales guy or the telemarketer, let's say, is going super fast. Remind yourself of all the telemarketers that call you and how they sound. And we don't want to sound like that. So what Miranda just said was, to help control your pace, if you pause in the middle of the sentences, it gives you the freedom to go slower. And the reason why is because the guy on the other end of the line is still waiting for you to finish the sentence. So that's the irony of it, right? He wants to hear the rest of it. So it's kind of like reverse psychology anyway, but she just gave you the key on how to control your pace. Okay, so between the pace and the pausing, that will get you through the intro and moving into the verification, which we're going to skip. We assume that everybody understands what to verify and all that stuff. And then we're going to jump right into the date and time progression, which we have not spoken about yet. So this will be fresh material.